My name is Eleanor and I am 70 years old. For many years, my life had been a quiet one. After my husband passed away a decade ago, I settled into a routine that was comfortable, though admittedly lonely. The house we had built together in the countryside became my sanctuary, a place where memories of the past mingled with the stillness of the present. Most days, I spent time in the garden tending to roses and lavender, the only living things I felt fully connected to. My children lived far away and were busy with their own lives, so phone calls were infrequent and brief. Friends visited occasionally, but the rhythms of my days were largely predictable. I told myself I was content with this life. After all, I was independent, healthy, and had everything I needed. But deep down, there was a subtle ache, a longing for something I couldn't quite name. One late spring afternoon, as the sun softened behind the trees and painted the sky with hues of pink and gold, I noticed a moving truck pull up across the street. A man in his late 40s stepped out, looking a bit overwhelmed by the boxes and furniture he was trying to organize. He glanced over at me, smiled politely, and waved. I returned the gesture, curious but hesitant to intrude. The next day, I found myself walking over with a basket of fresh bread and homemade jam. I introduced myself. His name was Daniel. He had recently moved from the city to care for his elderly mother who lived next door. Our first conversation was brief but warm. Over the next few weeks, our paths crossed often, me watering my garden, him unloading furniture or repairing things around the house. Each encounter brought more conversation, laughter, and an unexpected comfort that neither of us anticipated. Daniel was patient and kind, always ready with a helping hand or a thoughtful word. He didn't pity me, instead he treated me as an equal, someone with stories to tell and wisdom to share. One afternoon, he asked if I would help him plant a vegetable garden in the backyard. "It's always been something I wanted to try," he said, "but never quite had the chance." I agreed, eager for the change in routine. Working side by side, digging into the earth, planting seeds, and sharing stories under the warm sun, I began to feel a spark of life return to me. I laughed more freely and found myself looking forward to the days ahead. Over time we started sharing meals. Daniel was a wonderful cook, and I found joy in teaching him some of my favorite recipes. Our dinners were simple but filled with rich conversation and a growing sense of companionship. One evening, as twilight settled over the countryside, we sat on my porch with mugs of tea. Daniel looked at me thoughtfully. "You've taught me more about life than I expected," he said softly. "Your strength, your kindness, it's inspiring." I felt a warmth spread through me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. It wasn't about romance or grand gestures. It was about connection, purpose, and rediscovering the beauty in everyday moments. Slowly, my world expanded again. I started writing letters to old friends, joining a local book club, and even volunteering at the community center. Each step was a small victory, a testament to the idea that life doesn't end at any particular age. It evolves. There were challenges, of course. Days when memories of loss felt sharp and heavy. Moments when I questioned whether I deserved this second chance at joy. But Daniel's steady presence reminded me that healing is a journey, not a destination. One spring morning, standing in the garden as new buds blossomed, I realized that I had found not just a friend, but a renewed sense of self. The years ahead were no longer something to fear. They were filled with possibility. At 70, I am learning to live again, not because my story needed rewriting, but because it deserved new chapters filled with hope, laughter, and the simple magic of everyday life. This is my story. A story of quiet resilience, unexpected friendship, and the power of embracing life's second chances.